My name is Leo, and I've funded dozens of entrepreneurs in Amazon FBA, and I've helped them get access to the best rewards credit cards that allow them to get an extra 1 to 2% profit margins within their business, and access to $1 to $300,000 and 0% interest business credit cards. And in this video, I am going to reveal to you the best business rewards credit cards, the best 0% interest business credit cards, and the best personal credit cards to help build up your credit profile if you are in Amazon FBA, because there are specific cards ideal in your specific industry that aren't as good in others. So I'm going to break that down for all of you today. So let's jump into things. First, before we get into all that, we have to understand my credit philosophy, which basically focuses on building relationships with the banks that have the best rewards cards and give out the highest 0% interest limits. We are not going to get autistic about credit card churning and hitting all these little bonuses and getting these new cards, closing them, and getting extra 1% back here and there on a few things, and kind of treating this credit cards like a coupon book, because that's not how you're going to get rich. You're going to get rich by developing a valuable skill set, and then once you're an expert, proving yourself within your industry, you can apply 0% interest business credit cards to further accelerate your growth. So we're going to start building these relationships, and you're optimizing your credit profile today before you actually need it. So then once you actually do need it, you'll be in a position to access it. Or if you're looking to get money as soon as possible, show you the steps on exactly how to do that to get as much as possible as quickly as possible. So that when you come to me and you're looking to get as much as possible, you already have the right steps in place that'll get you as much money as you can. So we start out by building relationships with the big four, which is number 1, Chase, 2, American Express, 3, Bank of America, and 4, US Bank. And why these banks? Because all these banks give out the highest 0% interest business credit card limits. They are the most generous with their limits to high spenders like you guys in Amazon FBA. They have the best rewards programs with the best cash back and points. And they allow you to get 0% interest every year on the business side. So it's advantageous to build relationships with them. And they'll give you out the largest business lines of credit when you're ready for that in the future. And as lending is getting stricter, which it is, because 2 years ago when I was doing this, it was way easier to get people funding. And I knew way less shit and I had way less connections. So these are the last banks to kind of, tighten up. And they're always going to be lending money to people regardless of the economic state, especially to people like yourselves that are successful business owners, that are high spenders, because if they're not lending money to you, they're not lending money to nobody, and they are going out of business. So what does a relationship mean? It means having personal credit cards with them, having loans from them, having bank accounts with them, and especially business ones, because you have to think about it. How does the bank make money? Yes, interest on credit cards and credit card transaction fees, but they make money a lot from loaning out the money. And where do they get the money from? They get money from people putting money into their bank account, and through fractional reserve banking. If they put it in $1,000, they can then loan out $10,000. So they need money in the accounts in order to actually make money. So that is why they are so big on people having bank accounts with them and keeping money there, which is why before you go and apply for any business credit cards, you always want to make sure you have money in a business checking account with them. So keeping money in there, having strong deposit history, having monthly activity, using the business credit cards you have, your monthly spend, the length of time that all this happens, paying your bills on time and having no overdrafts. Like, for example, I had a client that $300,000 from the Chase banking account and went to go apply for a 0% card, and he got denied because he had an overdraft 6 months ago for $80. So make sure you don't do that. So all this contributes to your internal banking score within the bank, which is basically like what kind of client you are to the bank, and you get a rating based on that. Every bank has it. You don't know what it is. They will not review it to you unless you're talking to a specific banker that is able to check that out for you. The higher internal score, the higher limits they'll give you, the better terms they'll give you. So that being said, here are the best business rewards credit cards for Amazon FBA. Number 1, the GOAT, the Amex Plum, the most underrated card from Amex by far. Everyone hypes up the Gold and the Platinum, but in my opinion, the Plum for Amazon FBA is by far the best because of the 60-day payback terms, which allows you to, use your money more times before you have to go ahead and pay it off, and gives you time from the time that you purchase inventory to the time that you sell it to the time that Amazon pays you back to pay off your card, which is nice. It is a charge card, so you can build up your limit to 6 figures on this, and you don't really need a strong profile to get approved, so you can be a young FBA hustler, and you can get access to this card. Probably start out with a 3 to 10K limit, but you can build it up as you spend on it and pay it off. And unlimited 1.5% cash back within 10 days of the cycle closing, which is pretty solid as well. Next on the list is the Chase Business Inc. Premier. Unlimited 2% cash back and 2.5% cash back in orders of 5,000 or more, which is the second best cash back card, and really, really high. This one is a little bit harder to get approved for, especially on a high limit side. If you need a relationship with Chase, you need a strong credit profile, but you can build that up over time in the same way that you can with other cards if you're spending on it and paying it off. And it's a charge card, you got to pay it off every month. I'm actually, however, moving a little bit away from this card, more so to this Capital One Spark Cash Plus, and I'll explain why. So with Chase, you have $150,000 in credit limit. That's the max that they'll give you. So if you build this card up to say $50,000 to $100,000, and then you want to go and apply for 0% funding, then the amount that you're capped, say if you have $100,000 on this card, it's only going to be 50 from Chase on the 0% side. So that's one of the kind of caveats with this. If you get your limit too high, you're kind of capping the amount of 0% that you can potentially get. But there's ways around it. But that's for that reason, it's kind of a little tricky. That's why I like, if you want to have the 2% cash back, that's why I like the Capital One Spark Plus, because it'll get you more cash back than the Amex Plum. And then also you can build up your limit. You don't need a great credit history with them. You can build this up to 6 figures, and you're not going to get financially reviewed with Amex, which can shaft you in your business. So I would definitely recommend anyone in FBA who's very reliant on Amex to have the Premier and the Capital One Spark Plus as well as a backup plan, just in case Amex decides to mess with you. We'll say that. Next, PNC Cash Rewards. This is the highest cashback card. It is 3x cashback for your first 12 months, 0% for your first 12 months. You need a good relationship with them. Like the business bank account, you're still looking only at 10 to 25K. Back to the Capital One Spark. I forgot to mention about this card. I despise Capital One. This is the only card that I recommend. And the reason for that is because, one, it doesn't require a relationship to get a high limit, but also, two, it doesn't report on your personal credit profile. So I'm going to make another video on the difference between business and personal credit, but Capital One business cards report on your personal. So it's going to mess up your score with high utilization if you're using it a lot. If you get a ton of inquiries, you can't take them off. So it is just not a good bank to work with primarily. But this specific card is good, specifically if you're on Amazon FBA and any other industry. I'm going to be honest, I wouldn't recommend it. So that's something to keep in mind. I wouldn't recommend any other Capital One card besides this one. So next up, Wells Fargo Signify. It's very similar to this PNC card, but except it's 2% forever. You're probably going to be looking at 10 to 25K limit unless you have a great relationship with Wells Fargo. So these are good cards for more unique situations. I don't know, most people in Amazon FBA aren't spending money on ads, but if you're spending money on ads, 4x on that is money. And then if you're spending over 150K a year in ads, you can get a second one to continue that 4x because they cap it after $150,000 in ad spend. After that is the Amex Platinum, which honestly is really only a good card if you're spending high 6 figures and for whatever reason you're not in a position to get your Plum or your Gold or your Spark up as high as it can. The Platinum will give you a pretty solid limit on it. If you like points over cash back, this is one of the better cards for that. 1.5 points for orders over 5,000. But how many points can you really use before you just want cash back? Especially with the spend that a lot of these guys in FBA are doing. But if you're spending over 100K, maybe 50K, or a younger guy, you need more spend, this is probably a good card to get. Finally, the Chase Ink Business Forward. This is very similar to the Gold, but Chase's version of it, 3x back on ad spend. But this is a good card if you want access to the Chase travel transfer portals, which I'm going to do another video on how to track with Chase and American Express. But basically, the Chase Sapphire, Preferred, and Reserve, and this Preferred are the only cards that allow you access to this. So if you don't want to add another personal card on your profile with this Sapphire, Preferred, and Reserve, then this is a great option to get access to that. And this has a pretty juicy sign-up bonus as well. And I'll talk more about that in another video. So here are the best 0% interest business credit cards. So with each bank, I have the amount of 0% cards that they offer. So Chase 2, Wells Fargo 1, PNC 3, for an example. And I only have one image of each just for simplicity's sake. So with Chase, there they go. They give out the high 0% limits. They have the best rewards program. You can expect 50 to 100K on a 0% card. But typically, if you want to get those high amounts, you want to be able to have high spend statements like 50K plus that from like an American Express or Capital One Spark that you can bring to the bankers to demonstrate, that you're actually, have a history of paying back high limit cards on the business side before. We have great bankers that, deal with clients that are doing, 50 to 100K plus a month in spend or revenue. And they have the authority to really approve you for these high limits, effectively guaranteed, where you can expect 50 to, over $100,000 on just one card from Chase alone, not even including the other banks that we can take you to. So American Express Blue, I would not recommend getting this card if you have no relationship with Amex. You will get shafted with a $2,000 limit. If you have a good relationship, you can get solid limits from $20,000 to $50,000 on this card. So if you don't have a relationship with Amex, I would recommend getting the Blue Personal, which we'll go over later first, and then getting this Amex Blue Business in the future. So Bank of America, great bank. You can get similar types of limits as you can to Chase, but they are a lot more stricter. They require more history, more money in your account, longer relationship. But if you have all this with Bank of America, you can get beautiful high limit 0% limits. And then with US Bank, they will give you probably low limits, 3 to 5K if you're applying online, to be transparent. But if you have a banker like we do, If you have high spend statements where you're spending 50 to 100K a month, you can easily get a 25 to 50K limit on there. If you're looking for the best bankers that have authority to approve you for the high limits, schedule time below, fill out a form, and we can set up a time to talk from there. So B tier, this is where you're expecting 10 to 25K. Wells Fargo, PNC, we already spoken about these two cards. Truist, Citizens, First Citizens, they're not really available in every state. Serve different, this is East Coast, South, is more so the West. Elon Financial is available in all states. They do the underwriting for a bunch of banks. They're pretty solid as well. And there's a bunch of other, smaller, more local banks that offer 0%. They're not going to be at the same level as the S and A tier, but they'll be, be able to 10 to 25K limits. So if you want, more access to more banks, check out other videos where I can maybe go over it, or just, send me a message on Twitter, fill out the form below, and I'll be more than happy to help you out with that. So yeah, most of these, for Citizens and Truist, you really don't need as much of a relationship as the but 10 to 25 is where you can expect from here. So when should you be getting personal credit cards over business ones? If your combined personal limits are under 15,000, not including authorized user or Amex charge cards, meaning if you have two 5K cards, you have 10K, it's below that. So you're going to want to definitely get another personal card. Ideally, you want to be between 30 to 80K, which is a sweet spot for max 0%, because on the business side, they're going to look at your personal credit limits to kind of determine what kind of limits to give you on the business side. You don't have a lot of tier one lenders like these banks here. Banks are going to take you as seriously, so you want to make sure you have a few of these on your profile. Maybe you only have 1 to 3 credit cards on the personal side, so you want to strengthen it a bit more to get the sweet spot of 4 to 6. But if you have all that, there's really no need for you to ever get another personal credit card again, because it's only going to hurt your score. So yeah, there's really not really an advantage once your personal profile is set, unless you want to really develop a relationship with a new bank even further. So best personal credit cards, not 0% interest. The Go, Chase, Sapphire Preferred, relatively low annual fee. Welcome bonus right now as of April 2025 is $100,000, which is crazy. 3x on restaurants and takeout, 1x on everything else. But the main thing, it gives you access to the transfer portal that we talked about before. I'm going to do another video on exactly how to do that, which is nice. And then Chase will also give you a good limit. Like, for example, for myself, when I was 21 years old, I got like a 20K limit on this, which is nice. And it strengthened my personal profile and allowed me to get, pretty solid 0% limits. And it was like, I got a 35K card when I was like 22 with no business, because I had a good relationship with Chase and I had good limits from this card. Go Personal, honestly, overrated card, high annual fee. I mean, 4x restaurants, but like, I don't know, I think 3x on Chase points are a little better than Amex points, so it's about the same. So the only thing is the 4x on groceries, but there's other cards that have higher rewards on groceries. It's only really going to help if you have this card, where it'll help you get a higher limit on the Amex Blue Business. But honestly, Chase Preferred is the better card in my opinion. So this is not an Amex Platinum. This is an Amex Charles Schwab Platinum, which is basically the same thing as an Amex Platinum, but you have access to the Charles Schwab brokerage account. So what does that mean? It allows you to transfer redeem your Amex points. Normally it's at a 1 to 0.6 if you transfer from points to cash. So that means if you have 1 million points, that's only $6,000 in cash. But if you take your Amex points, put them into a Schwab brokerage account for cash, and then take that cash and put it into your bank account, you get $11,000. So an extra $5,000 just by doing this one extra step. You can do up to 1 million points a year, and that is the main advantage of having this card. I mean, you get access to the travel part, the lounges and stuff. But if you're flying, business class with the points you get anyways, you already get access to them. But if you're traveling a lot, it could be nice to get. But in terms of like the spend points, you really only get 1%, 1.5 for orders over 5K. Buying flights through the Amex travel portal is a scam. So if you're getting, extra 5x points, like 5% back, it's just not good, because they're marking up the prices way more, like 20, 30% on the Amex travel portal anyway. But now you know. So finally, best 0% interest personal credit cards. Like I said, you want to build relationships with the big four: Chase, American Express, Bank of America, US Bank. And honestly, if you were to get like the most optimal credit situation, you would get this. Chase Sapphire Preferred gets you access to the transfer partners, and then 3x on restaurants, and a nice bonus. You got this, which is not 6x on restaurants, it's 6x on groceries. I mistyped this. And then 3x on gas. So right there, you're getting 3x restaurants, 6x on groceries, 3x on gas. And then this right here, you're getting an unlimited 2% back on everything else. And if you have more money in US Bank, you can get even a little bit higher. And then, you get, this customized cash rewards card. And then you have the big four credit cards, and you have relationships with these key banks, and you're getting the most amount of points possible. So that's really it. So if you want to get access to this sheet, go in the description, and there's going to be a link to this. And if you want to book a call with me, if you want to get access to as much 0% interest as possible, because you understand that the more money that you have in your business, that the more money that you'll make, and you understand that paying an expert like myself for my strategy, connections, credit repair, ink removal for 2 years to get access to $100,000 to $300,000 per funding round within 30 to 60 days is something that's going to allow you to make a ton more money. You can book a call below, and I'll be able to do a credit audit where I'll review your credit profile and your business financials, and I'll be able to give you an accurate estimate in terms of the amount of funding we can get you. And if it sounds like an amount that works for you, and you think that we can help, and you can make money with that money that we get you can pay me and we can get working. And that's really it. But follow for more credit advice, like this video, and that is it.